Yo, what is up guys, your boy IzuKage here with a new video, and this is gonna be a bit different than usual. This is gonna be a review of Redo of Healer.
Weird. Buddy, you're weird.
I think it's this one. Yeah, IzuKage. Alright. Yo, what is up guys? It is your boy IzuKage here with a new what if, and this what if is gonna be what if Deku was a Vinsmoke or what if Deku had Sanji's powers. I haven't really decided on the title, but in this story it'll be taking different aspects from the members of the Vinsmoke family, mainly Sanji and his abilities, but I might dabble into his siblings' powers. It's just dependent upon you guys, and you can tell me in the comments what do you want me to use, just different things you want me to include into the story, and I'll make it happen. But with that said, let's just get right into the what if. We're gonna start this what if off with some info on Izuku's parents, in particular Hisashi's family, because Hisashi's entire family has a history of being quirkless. Hisashi's brother, uncle, grandfather, and his own mom were all quirkless, and those are just the ones that Izuku knows about. So going through life, Izuku had it rough, like more than Izuku, because when he was younger, the percentage of quirkless people was even lower than the start of the My Hero anime. But it was Hisashi's drive, his powers, no, not gonna sing it, but that's what made Hisashi great, and he studied biotech, graduating at the top of his class, and he met Inko. But with a job like this, Hisashi would be sent all over the place. One day he's in Kyoto, then Osaka, then Sendai, then Kobe. This man was all over the place. So you guys must be wondering, okay, what's the big deal? Let's get to Izuku already. First off, be patient. And also, Hisashi knew more than Izuku, like more than likely Izuku would be quirkless. So he wanted to make sure Izuku would have powers so Izuku can actually have a normal life and live like a normal child. So he took an extended break from work, and in their basement, Hisashi started an experiment to create the first artificial quirk. Hisashi would dabble in gene editing, and he would manage to create the small pill that would edit Izuku's DNA as he's developing in the womb. The side effects are unclear, but with this, he knows Izuku will develop a quirk. So after 5 months of development, he gave it to Inko, like he gave the pill to Inko. He just slipped it into a meal, nothing crazy, and this pregnant Inko ate it up like it was her favorite meal. And a few months later, Izuku would be born. But literally on the day that Inko was supposed to give birth, Hisashi's work, they called him and said, bro, you've been from work for way too long, because it's been almost a year at this point. So they want him and they're gonna station him in the US. So Hisashi, he had little control, so he had to go. And Inko would bring baby Izuku home, and in the following weeks, Inko would mysteriously fall ill. Like, she doesn't know what's wrong. She's been to multiple doctors, and no one knew what was wrong with her. And as time went on, Inko just got sicker and sicker, to the point where most days she would spend like most of her time in bed. Maybe get up once in a while to make sure that Izuku is fine, you know, make him breakfast, dinner, all his meals. But one day when Izuku, he's like 4 years old, he wakes up for school, and this morning Inko, she is like really sick, like too exhausted to move. So Izuku, he decides to cook for himself. He doesn't know how to even light the stove, but that's not gonna stop him. So Izuku would start off strong, you know, he's trying to make basic fried egg. And yeah, there's some shells still in it when he cracks it, but that just adds texture. Then, you know, the crunch you get when you bite into it, only elite chefs would know about that technique, but you know. Izuku, he takes the food to Inko, who's still in bed, and at first she was surprised Izuku managed to not burn down the house, but the food on the plate was expected of a 4-year-old. You know, burnt eggs, he didn't even add oil to the pan, so the pan is literally ruined. and there's shells still in it. He tried making toast as well, but the toast was literally a black brick. She bites into it and the crumbs fly all over the place. You know how it is when you're eating toast. It's pretty annoying. But yeah, the food literally had no flavor. He added no salt, no nothing. Bro just turned on the fire, put down the pan, cracked the egg, just threw the shells in there, and that was it. And as Inko is taking a bite from this burnt piece of toast, she was just smiling while eating this nothingness, this burnt taste. And Izuku thought this was a win in his book. You know, his mom seems happy that he cooks. So Izuku, in the future, he would definitely further his culinary arts. So Izuku excitedly hugged Inko, then ran downstairs where he grabbed his bag and shoes and went to school. Now, Izuku's school life is way different than in canon. Izuku would be really popular because even though all his quirk tests say he doesn't have a quirk, Izuku had incredible speed and strength. It was unnatural. Like, how can someone not have a quirk without having a quirk gene? So on this day, Izuku, he would enter class, seeing people crowding around Bakugou. They're all impressed by his quirk. So Izuku wiggled his way through the crowd and he sees a Bakugou, like sparks coming off of his palm, and he's excited. The two are excited, and the teachers looked to the both of them and said they could be the next greatest heroes, and this just lit a fire in their hearts. And as time went on, they would become true friends. They would be as close as like brothers. They would train together, spend just a lot of time together. And during this time of them training, Izuku wanted to use his strength in a unique way. He always sees All Might punching through villains, but what if All Might, kicked once in a while? And Izuku wanted to explore that. So he and Bakugou would do basic martial arts training in his backyard. They would literally pull up a video off YouTube and watch tutorials. It looks like you guys are enjoying the What If so far. Make sure to check out the link in the description for Fandom. It is a dope website where you can find some fire anime merch. Definitely go check them out. They've got Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, My Hero. You want it, they more than likely have it. So yeah, if you guys are interested in any of that, links to that in the description, and use code IzuKage for 5% off. Now back to your regularly scheduled What If. So obviously it wasn't good, but Izuku and Bakugou got the basics down, and this is where Izuku would start to develop his own feat-based martial arts. But it is finally the final day of middle school. So on this day, the teacher comes into class and he says, I was gonna pass all these job application tests, but I know you all want to be heroes. And he throws the papers into the air and all the students start using their quirks, being all flashy. And the teacher's like, all right, calm down, calm down. Now looking through all these papers, it seems all of you sent in a request for a hero school. And I actually see here 2 students want to go to UA. And everyone was like shocked. Who has the capabilities of going to UA? And then the teacher says Bakugou and Izuku. And everyone gasped, and Bakugou said, what did you nobodies expect? Me and Izuku are the strongest ones in this class. And everyone kept silent because, well, he had a point. And Izuku said to Bakugou, we still need to work on that ego. And Bakugou just crossed his arms and said, whatever. And that day continued like normal. Once school was over, they needed to get home quickly, so they were going to take all the shortcuts they know, trying to get there as quickly as possible, because Izuku has a big feast planned. He's going to cook for Inko and Bakugou's family, so they need to prep the food, have everything ready. So they took a alleyway that they take all the time, but once they were like halfway through this manhole cover that was in front of them, it shot off from like where it's supposed to be, and this slimy sludge villain emerged from it. And it saw these 2 kids and said, you two don't move. You made the perfect replacement bodies. And Bakugou looked at Izuku and Izuku looked back at Bakugou, and they knew what they needed to do. So Izuku grabbed Bakugou's arms and threw him at the villain, and Bakugou, once he was close enough, he let out a massive explosion, getting him off guard, and Izuku ran on the wall, like the walls of the alley, and jumped off of it and kicked the Sludge villain in the face. Normally, physical attacks would just go straight through the Sludge villain, but Izuku's speed, it managed to harden the Sludge in a way. So that's how he was able to hit him. And the Sludge villain slammed against the wall, but now he was even angrier. He said, "You two, you need more than that to take me down." And Izuku would say to Bakugou, "Aim for his eyes. If we get those, he wouldn't be able to see us." And Bakugou said, "Oh, good thinking. Throw me again." And Izuku nodded, grabbing Bakugou's arm and threw him directly at the Sludge villain. It tried attacking Bakugou mid-air, but Bakugou just shot away the sludge that was coming at him with his other arm, and then once he got close in, he used his next arm to aim at his eyes and said, "I'll be the last thing you'll ever see for a while." And he sets off an explosion, blinding the Sludge villain with an injury that would take months to heal. So Izuku, he was gonna start getting in on the action and use the villain as a kicking bag, but All Might showed up and he apprehended the villain. But before he went, All Might turned to the two boys and said, "You two, what are your names?" And they said Bakugou Katsuki and Izuku Vinsmoke. All Might hearing this, he smiled and said, "Young Katsuki, young Vinsmoke, you two did well today. Do you plan on going to UA?" And they nodded, and All Might smiled, and as he jumped off, he said, "I guess I'll see you there." They didn't completely get what he meant by that. Maybe All Might would visit the school, but they were still in a rush to get home, so that's what they did. So once they got home, Izuku, he starts all the prep, taking everything out, having all his ingredients ready, and that's when he started cooking. This would be similar to a Thanksgiving feast. I don't really know what you'd have for Thanksgiving since I don't celebrate it, but I know there's turkey, so yeah, they'd have turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberries, just everything along those lines, and trust me, the food was amazing. So Bakugou and his parents, they came over. Well, Bakugou was already there helping Izuku, but his parents came over, and Inko, she mustered enough strength to get downstairs to sit at the table, and Izuku made sure she was fine. The entire time she was walking, he was helping her down each stair. So once they got around the table, everyone they blessed the food, and Izuku, now everyone was thanking Izuku, saying, "Yo, this food is amazing." And Bakugou's dad said, "This food is incredible. Have you ever thought of being an actual chef?" And Izuku said, he thought about it, but being a hero is his main goal. And is that how he would say his Bakugou's father's name? Masaru? Yeah, Masaru. He said, "Well, I know a chef in town, and if you need some extra money, he might hire you after tasting this." And Izuku really thought about it, and since Bakugou, he would be out of town for the 9 months, just some family stuff, and Izuku wanted a real martial arts teacher, so, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, earning some extra money to pay for some martial arts classes. So the next day, Izuku went to the same store and he looked it up on Google Maps and said, "Yep, this is the place. Ichiraku. They're a fine dining restaurant and the owner's name is Teuchi. Yes, Teuchi's interdimensional. He has chains of restaurants in the MHA world." So Izuku, he would apply to get the job, and since they were, pretty low on staff, and Bakugou's dad did refer him, so Teuchi, he would know about Izuku applying and stuff like that. So yeah, he would apply and get the job without much convincing. And for the first month of the 9-month training period, Izuku would be saving all of his money he's earning, saving up so he can pay for a martial arts class. And by the second month, that's exactly what he does. And Izuku would enter this martial arts dojo. It has some generic name, and his master's name is Master Sifu. If anyone gets the 2 jokes from that name, comment it down below and see if anyone gets it. Alright. I'll give you a clue. The first one is it's relating to somebody else's name, like another fictional character's name. And the second joke, it's about the name itself, like what the, I don't want to give it away, but yeah, just think about the name itself. What does the name mean, I guess? So in the dojo, Izuku, he would meet one of Master Sifu's disciples, Ojiro, and they would train, and Izuku would develop his unique style even further, and Master Sifu would be a bit confused why someone would want to primarily use their feet, but after seeing Izuku fight, he doesn't doubt the kid at all. So months of training go by, and by the final 2 months, Izuku can literally beat Master Sifu. And Sifu and Ojiro are shocked by his rapid development. Ojiro has been going for 5 years, and Izuku just came and he's already destroying him. So, this would even be on full display on Izuku's restaurant job. You know, he would become the head chef. People would literally come into the store and always ask for Izuku to make their food. So it didn't take long for him to rise through the ranks, and now he's running the entire team at the age of 13. So one day while Izuku is at work, he's overseeing everyone cooking, and he goes to the front to see the customers, making sure they're all right. And the place has always been really packed because ever since Izuku started, it's just gotten more and more popular, and the name has spread so far it reached the Yaoyorozu family. So they decided to see what all the hype was about, and they went to the restaurant. And Izuku, he sees Momo walk through the doors, and his eyes turned to hearts. His entire focus was on her. He was like, is this a goddess? Izuku rushed over to greet the family, and he didn't want to, come off really weird, so he walked up to Mr. Yaoyorozu and he said, good afternoon, sir. I'm the head chef of this establishment, and I would like to make you guys our special guest this evening. And Mr. Yaoyorozu was confused, but he's like, oh, special guest for free? Oh, bet. He was not going to turn that down. So Izuku has the waiters stop what they're doing, take all of their orders, and Izuku goes back into the kitchen and personally makes their food and brings it out himself. So all the restaurant staff are confused why Izuku is like doing the waiters' jobs, but it'll be obvious to them pretty soon. So Izuku, he brings out Momo's plate, and it has a lot of attention to detail, like Izuku was performing surgery on the food. And Mr. Yaoyorozu, he was curious and said, son, how old are you? And Izuku bowed and said, he was 13 years old. And everyone at the table almost spit out their foods. 13? Because Izuku, he was pretty tall for his age, and Mr. Yaoyorozu, he wanted to, learn more about Izuku. This boy is fascinating. So he had him sit down and chat while they eat, and Izuku starts to explain his whole life, how his father left to get milk when he was young and his mom is very ill. Managing all of this at 13 is incredible, and Mr. Yaoyorozu offers Izuku a deal. He would make sure that Inko gets top of the line healthcare, and he would get a really good salary if he works for them as their personal chef. And Izuku's eyes widened. He would love to do that, but he has plans to go to UA, and hearing this piques Momo's interest. Like, oh, UA you say? Well, I got a recommendation. But before he could go any further, Izuku, he heard some the chefs destroying something in the kitchen, so he excuses himself, but made sure Momo and her family were given free desserts. And Izuku said, it was all on the house, it would be taken out of his paycheck. And Izuku watched as his goddess left the store, and he's hoping that they get to meet again. So for the next 2 months, Izuku would train with Master Sifu for some of his final times, because once he gets into UA, he'll focus on that. And one thing Izuku is starting to realize is when he kicks, if he kicks fast enough, his kicks can create a bit of heat. So Izuku is wondering if he can create flames with his kicks, but he wouldn't be able to test his theory because the entrance exams are right around the corner. So the next day, Izuku wakes up extra early to cook his mom a French-inspired breakfast, a baguette cut in half with a jam and tea and a fruit bowl on the side. And Izuku brought it to Inko, and she thanked Izuku and said, "Whatever you do, I'll always believe in you, Izuku. Now go out there and show them what the Vinsmoke family is capable of, what you're capable of." And Inko got out of bed and hugged Izuku. Izuku was trying to tell her to stay and rest, but she wanted to embrace her son. And with that, Izuku would be on his way to the UA entrance exams. So he gets there and he sees the massive gates and he's just in awe at the size of UA. He walks up the stairs and heads into the registration hall where everyone is writing down their names, and they're given this armband to show that they're supposed to be there. So they get to the written exams, and they're given this little tablet with a bunch of questions. It is 40 questions in total, and they have to answer them to the best of their abilities. So after the hour is given, they're given an hour to complete the test. Izuku, he sees his score and he gets a 97%, which is amazing because the average is 85. So no one, barely anyone even got as high as Izuku. So next they enter the little lecture hall area where President Mike would start to speak about the different point robots, like the 3-pointers, 2-pointers, things like that. And as he was going to finish up with saying the 0-pointers, Ida, he chimes in and says, "Well, sir, I think you actually forgot a robot. On the pamphlet you gave us, it says there is also a 0-pointer, but you've made no note of that robot as of yet." And President Mike, he's trying to hold it in and says, "These damn kids think they know what they're doing, whatever." So he controls himself and says, "Well, if you had let me finish, I would have explained that this is the 0-pointer, and as the name suggests, you get no points. They're just an obstacle for other students there." So Ida, he, sits down as everyone starts to chuckle a bit, and President Mike, he continues his presentation. And with that, he ushers everyone to their assigned gates. Izuku is assigned to gate B, Mock City B, and he's just waiting until a announcement is given for them to go or something. And Izuku's waiting in the corner of the room, and he sees this girl looking pretty nervous. So being the fine gentleman he is, Izuku was gonna walk up to Uraraka and give her some words of encouragement. But halfway there, he's blocked by Ida and says, "Oh, I know you were gonna talk to that girl and distract her, get her off her game, so you can intentionally make her lose." And Izuku doesn't know what blasphemy this guy's talking about and says, I would never do that. And Ida's like, "Right." And he starts looking him from head to toe, being like, you're kind of strange. And he looks at his eyebrows, and Izuku has that signature curly eyebrow. And from this, Ida thinks he's some delinquent or something. But as they're, have this confrontation, President Mike comes over the speakers and said, "There are no countdowns in a fight. Go, 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 go." So everyone rushes out of the waiting area and into the streets of the Mock City B. And as Izuku turns a corner, he's faced with a 1-point robot. And Izuku wasn't going to back down. He starts running at really fast speeds, if you blink you would miss him. And Izuku jumps up and kicks the robot into the buildings, slamming it and destroying all of its components at that same point. And as Izuku does this, the teachers in the observation room, they're watching Izuku, and his speed and strength are incredible. And All Might is watching Izuku specifically because it's sort of what he's used to, just raw speed and strength. But he realized that this isn't raw at all. Izuku knows what he's doing. He knows techniques. He's trained. And he's using this special type of martial arts he never really sees. It's a legged based martial arts, almost completely legged based. So they watch as Izuku completely makes light work of these robots, using his rapid speed of his kicks to completely decimate them. And Izuku, he's going through them, and by the end of the, well, not the end, but by the time this zero pointer shows up and everyone's running to the entrance, and Izuku, he's on the main street and he's confused why everyone's running, and Ida runs past him and says, "Trust me, just run." And Ida bolts to the entrance, and Izuku, he's confused on what's gonna go as well, but he hears a girl scream out, and he's like, "Oh, a damsel in distress, I can't let this go on, I can't let her go unsaved," or something, something noble. So Izuku starts running over to where he hears this voice, and he sees Uraraka trapped under the rubble. But this time Uraraka actually got knocked out by one of the falling debris. So Izuku, he sees the zero pointer and he starts getting mad. First, he lifts the rubble off of her and takes her to a safe distance away. And then Izuku looks at the 0 point robot and he's getting furious. He said, "How dare you do that to such a fine lady?" And of course, well, the robot can't talk, so it's just moving towards Izuku. And Izuku, he's thinking how he can rush up to get to the head of the robot, because he knows that's where all of the more important bits are. So if he can kick that, it would be over for this massive beast. And Izuku, he's thinking of jumping on the walls or something like that, but something comes to his mind. Something that he was experimenting on slightly, but it never really got anywhere. Izuku, if he's able to jump fast enough, he'll be able to jump on the air itself, because he's compressing the air. So if he does it fast enough, he can create his own steps in mid-air. So Izuku, he starts running on the side of the buildings as far as he can go, and then when he's halfway up to the head of the zero pointer, Izuku, he jumps off the building and says, "I hope this works." And then he starts kicking the air as hard as and fast as he can. He starts kicking it, and then he's floating and then starts moving upwards to the top of the zero pointer. And All Might's head is stuck onto the TV watching this kid. He just keeps coming up with stuff so randomly, and this one seems to be something he came up with on the fly. So Izuku, he starts air walking up to the head of the zero pointer, but it starts charging up a beam. So Izuku, he had to act quickly and rush towards it. And then he spun around and kicked the zero pointer's head, but it only dented it. And seeing this massive failure, the words of Izuku's mom start coming into his head, saying that, "Show them what the Vinsmoke family can do. Show them what you can do." And this gave Izuku the drive to continue. He kept kicking repeatedly the zero pointer's head, kicking it so much it caved inwards and going through the zero pointer, destroying all of its key components. And the zero pointer started to fall backwards and destroying it. Izuku stood on top of this metal beast, and every teacher in the observation room was impressed by Izuku's skill and power. And Nezu turned to All Might and said, "I think I found the kid you're looking for." And All Might said, "I think so too." And that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Thank you guys for sticking all the way through to the end of the video. If you want me to give Izuku one for all, and if you want me to give him any other ability of the Vinsmoke family, definitely leave it in the comments down below. And yeah, if you like the video, and if you like my content in general, consider subscribing. And I'll see you guys in the next What If.
And remember, like and subscribe. Or else.